tonight on MetroNews. A teacher shortage leaves schools battling a crisis. Less of the birds, more of the bees. And we get our toes tapping at the Dance Awards.
Kia ora and good evening.
Welcome to your local news bulletin, brought to you by the students of the New Zealand Broadcasting School.
Principals are facing a crisis with teacher numbers at an all-time low. There aren't enough young people going into the profession, and as a result, teachers are taking classes outside of their main subjects, or they're coming out of retirement. Luke Hempelman heads back to school to check out the problem.
Schools around the country are suffering. Teacher shortages the worst they've ever been.
And I would call it a crisis in certain areas of our teaching profession.
Holstein, whose school's the biggest in the South Island, has had to look overseas to find people to teach specialist subjects.
I'd love them to come to me, but no, that's not the case.
But principals aren't just looking overseas to fill gaps in their teaching staff. Darfield High School's a third of the size of Burnside and trying to deal with the same problem.
And so a lot of the people who've retired recently we're kind of dragging back in to take classes and relieve it.
Morris is also worried that the ageing workforce isn't being replaced. The number of teacher trainees has dropped by a third in just 3 years.
Teaching isn't seen as a desirable occupation anymore.
PPTA figures show that a third of advertised positions go unfilled, that 40% of schools use teachers outside their specialty, and 20% had to cancel classes as they had no suitable teachers. And bigger city schools like Burnside have a definite advantage over the likes of Darfield High in the country.
When we're transferring a problem, so when we're short, we might attract someone, but there's leaving that hole over there. Rather than this field, we're just taking from each other.
The government is currently looking at a wide variety of solutions, including a review of NCEA, a negotiation of the teachers' contract, and a new ministerial review that will directly address workforce supply concerns.
One of the key things I think is paying conditions, relative to what teaching used to be paid compared to other occupations has been dropping back steadily.
It is more demanding, it is relentless.
But those in the new wave of teachers remain hopeful.
Sometimes I'm in tears laughing about either things kids ask or things they say, and I'm just laughing. I really do get a lot of joy from them. They're so funny.
And it's that passion that Phil Holstein says will save a struggling industry.
It's the energy, the enthusiasm of our young people that keeps you going.
And that way forward needs to be found soon. Luke Hempelman, MetroNews.
Some Cantabrians are finding the city's drinking water hard to swallow. In March this year, the City Council added chlorine to Christchurch's water supply. But as Jack Loader reports, they're having to make some changes.
Following complaints, the council is halving the amount of chlorine in 27 of the city's 52 pump stations.
The teams are going around just trying to concentrate on the areas that the most significantly people have got some concerns with.
Chlorine was added to reduce the risk of drinking water getting contaminated, but some residents say it's affecting their health.
Eczema, especially on my arms, it's also resulted in me having to go to a dermatologist just to kind of sort it out.
He used to like the water and is disappointed with the taste.
I feel like before they implemented these changes, the water was much more enjoyable.
Council is doing what it can to answer residents' questions.
Not only of complaints but inquiries as well regarding what do we do with my goldfish or what do I do feeding the cat. What we're doing is recommending people go to our website. We've got a lot of information on there.
And on that website, lots of advice including letting the water stand to reduce the chlorine taste. But what do other residents think?
Not really.
Not really.
But then having said that, I mean, it's better than getting some sort of disease.
Honestly, I feel a little bit concerned. I've stopped drinking water from the tap.
It was, lovely fresh water. Now it's chemical and horrible.
The council is aiming to end chlorination within 12 months after fixing the wells or possibly using UV treatment to keep the water safe. Jack Loader, MetroNews.
An exciting new experiment is being launched to boost the bee population in Christchurch's red zone. With numbers around the world dropping drastically, the move is being closely watched to see how successful it is. So Zion Dale went east to check out what the buzz is all about.
The red zone may lack people, but it's buzzing.
Bringing back bees to the quake-damaged east side is a Land Information New Zealand project which just started.
I'd like to think that it'll help with the vegetation around here and provide a vibrant environment for people to enjoy the red zone, but it'll also help the fruit trees and the nut trees that have been left behind in the former gardens.
This trial involves 10 beehives and over 600,000 bees. With it being the end of honey season, beekeepers will split their strongest hive into two and introduce a queen, in the hope that they raise the bee population by 60,000 a year. Around the world, the bee population's falling. In the US, beekeepers lost a third of their bees in the last 2 years.
If you take, for example, the monoculture that they have in the States, they basically bring 70–80% of the bees that they have loaded on trucks into one place, California, where they grow almonds. And they wonder why they've just killed half their bee population. So bad management, bad farming.
Helen English is one of more than 200 members of this bee hobbyist club in Kashmir. President Paul O'Donnell believes the bee population here is in a better state than overseas.
And if you think that there's 60,000 in one hive, and you think of all the other hives out there, I don't think we're underpopulated in bees at all.
In fact, the number of registered beehives here have increased by over 75,000 in the last 6 months. This country has the highest density of bees in the world.
Our farming techniques aren't quite as industrialised as they are in overseas, for instance, so we don't have the same degree of monoculture and sprays and stuff.
Even though hive master Lindsay has his bees on the south side of town, he's keen to get some out east in the red zone.
Last year I noticed acres and acres of clover, for instance, and I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, I'd love to have some hives there.
It's not just bees they want, it's beekeepers as well.
No, just join the bloody club.
Zion Dale, MetroNews.
An urgent call's gone out for budding rugby referees. As the number of men's and women's teams playing the sport increases, the local Referees Association needs more refs to keep up. Brooke Jenner joins us now. Brooke, what's happening on the fields?
Well, the referee normally isn't the first thing that comes to mind when we think of rugby, but they do play a pretty big role in the game. Now, last year, the number of rugby referees around the country reached the lowest levels seen in recent years, and the situation's pretty similar here in Canterbury. Now, what this means is they're in short supply and the sport needs more of them. It's one of the best known calls of a rugby referee. But as our national sport attracts more players, it's a call we need more people to be making.
It's growing more and more, and particularly with the women's game now having been included in the Olympics and the Commonwealth Games, there's some pretty big opportunities for females in rugby and refereeing.
Last season, nearly 70,000 Kiwis played rugby, but there were just 750 referees. And that means referees are having to officiate in more games than ever.
Last year we had a wee dip where we didn't recruit as many people as we wanted, and we had a few people leave the sport.
This message echoes a nationwide campaign by the New Zealand Rugby Union, calling for more males and females to pick up the whistle and be in the game. Lyndon says while referee numbers nationwide have picked up this season, more are needed to keep up with player demand.
They're there to make sure that the game happens for the players and make sure that our players play within the confines of the laws of the game and playing in a true sporting spirit.
Former players make the best referees.
A lot of guys have serious injuries or that sort of thing and can't be involved at a playing level any longer, so it's a great way to stay in the game, be part of the action.
You can't get a better seat watching a game of rugby than being right out in the middle of it.
And the satisfaction of being a vital part of the national game. As the sport continues to grow both here at home and internationally, rugby officials say that means more opportunities will open up for young referees as well. Now, you may not know, but New Zealand has a national referee squad and they travel all across the world covering the big matches. So if you're keen, get in touch with your local club and give it a go.
Thanks, Brooke. Coming up, we catch up with Canterbury's top basketball team. And today our lessons come from an unlikely source.
My name is Ella Cook. I'm a television production manager in London. I work for a company called Red House Television. I work on property shows, comedy and entertainment. I worked as the production assistant on New Zealand's Got Talent on Target, on What Now. I came to London nearly 4 years ago now. Didn't have any issues finding a job at all. I went to a company called Hat Trick Productions. We won a BAFTA last year as well as were nominated this year. To even be nominated and go to the awards was something I never ever thought that I would ever do. But then to also win it and go up on the BAFTA stage was just a brilliant feeling. I love living in London. Definitely a big change from living in New Zealand. There's so many people, it's so busy and bustling all the time. I also love being able to just go to the theatre or see something different every night. The professionalism that we are taught at broadcasting school really helps in the wider world. I had my degree on my CV as well as the work experience that I'd gained after my internship. I would never have thought that I'd get this far. It's the best thing that I ever did for my career. There's no way that I would be where I am today without the degree that I have.
Welcome back. The biggest night in Canterbury basketball this season is 3 days away. The National Basketball League's returning to Horncastle Arena after an 11-year break. Isaiah Smiler is covering the story. Isaiah, just how big is this?
Well, Abby, it's going to be pretty big. The Rams are taking on the Wellington Saints here, and team officials tell me they've already sold 4,000 tickets for Friday night's game. They're all really excited to get the ball rolling at Horncastle Arena once again. It's been a long 11 years since the Canterbury Rams stepped on the hardwood floor of Horncastle Arena.
And the driver behind it is to celebrate the basketball community.
The Rams last played there in 2007, and unfortunately they lost to Hawke's Bay in overtime. Since then, Cal Stadium is where they've called home. But now they want to test out a bigger venue.
Everyone's saying how popular basketball is, so we want to see whether that has a direct reflection in the amount of crowd that we can get to a game.
Past games at Horncastle are remembered as electric.
There would have been, I'd say, 5,000 people there. All the lower section was filled, most of the upper section was filled, and it was an amazing experience. It's close to a New Zealand Breakers game, as you'll get here in Christchurch.
It won't just be the crowd getting worked up, the players can't wait either to take on the Wellington Saints, who are reigning champions.
I'm pretty sure everyone's really excited. It's a bit more of like a Australian NBL feel for us, you know. Bigger crowd, be more exciting, louder for everyone.
He's hoping every basketball fan in town will get down to Horncastle for the game.
Yeah, I just think it'd be cool if every basketball club could come and check it out, you know. We can fit everyone finally, you know, so it'd be pretty cool if everyone came down and saw it.
If this game goes well, we could see even more basketball action at Horncastle in future years.
Probably moving forward, if this goes well, it'll be a combination of playing games at Cal Stadium, Horncastle, and then a mixture of the Metro Stadium once it's built.
But for now, Friday night's the main focus, and a stern warning from local boy Nathan Campbell to the Wellington Saints.
So we're just going to be focusing on us, and they got to stop us, so that's what they got to worry about.
That and the thousands backing the Rams. The Rams sit near the top of the NBL ladder with 5 wins from just 7 games. Imports Winston Shepherd, Xavier Thames and Julian Washburn are leading the way for the side. It'll be interesting to see if they can keep that momentum going forward.
Thanks, Isaiah. How good are you when it comes to te reo? Well, it seems lots of Christchurch people are keen to improve their Māori language skills, to say it the right way, not the white way. Megan Thompson with the story.
If you're keen to start learning Māori, this is where you should be. And your tutor is Anton Matthews, who, when he's not teaching, runs a restaurant specialising in Kiwi kai.
Awesome. So one more time, nice and loud. Aroha. Aroha. And I often hear aroha or araha or something like that. Aroha means love, compassion, caring, all that sort of stuff.
The classes are now held at Christchurch Boys High School. Originally they were meant to be in Anton's restaurant Fush, but due to so many people coming, it had to be moved.
I'm really proud to be a Kiwi, and I'm so pleased that so many people have sort of come out and turned up in person. It sends a really strong message, I think, to the rest of New Zealand.
Everyone that goes to the classes has their own special reason for attending.
I think it's really important to study te reo and be familiar with the language when you're studying law.
My heritage, I need to be able to pronounce words properly. And if my granddaughter can say it better than me, it's a bit sad, isn't it?
It feels like something is turning in the city, and I really wanted to be part of it.
The classes have the full support of Māori leaders who want to keep the culture alive here in Otatahi.
Māori can only survive if non-Māori help pick up with te reo Māori.
Māori will not survive if a certain section of the population, i.e. the Māori population, are the only ones speaking te reo Māori.
The classes are aimed at creating a safe environment for all Canterburyans here in Christchurch. With such high attendances, they hope to keep putting the classes on in the future. All are welcome at these classes.
And it's really important that people don't feel shy and don't feel embarrassed when they get something wrong.
Everyone, regardless of how much they know, can do their part to keep Māori alive here in Canterbury.
Keep doing what you're doing, use what you know, don't be afraid to use what you know. I think there's so much power in taking the little bits that you know and using it.
So everyone repeat after me, Māori. One more time, nice and loud.
Megan Thompson, MetroNews.
Fush owner Anton Matthews joins Megan now in studio to tell us how Canterburyans felt about the event. Megan.
So Anton, the free beginner Māori classes have been going for 3 weeks. How do you think they've gone so far?
Really good. I mean, I'm really chuffed with how it's gone. We didn't really have any expectations when we sort of set out. Certainly nothing this big anyway. So yeah, look, every week is it was just a nice reminder of how willing and how open people are to learning te reo Māori, which is such an awesome feeling and a great experience.
Yeah, I bet. So, what made you do these classes in the first place?
Look, I mean, we've had our menu written in te reo Māori for a long time, and we've had table talkers in the restaurant, and we just sort of noticed that more and more people were coming in and asking questions about it, and were genuinely just interested, I suppose. And so we decided that we'd put on a wee class for the community itself, and with the idea of sort of getting people speaking a bit more te reo Māori in the restaurant, hoping that my kids, I mean, I speak te reo Māori to my kids, and so that the long-term goal was that they would hear the interaction between the staff and the customers, and just accept te reo Māori as being a normal language and a normal part. I mean, at home we speak te reo Māori to one another, but I was noticing that as we were moving out of home into the supermarket or the restaurant or whatever, my kids were becoming reluctant to speak te reo Māori. So the idea was that if they heard the customers and the staff speaking Māori more and more, that maybe they might feel more comfortable to speak te reo Māori, which is one of their native tongues, I suppose.
Yeah, so what's your reaction to the amount of people that have come to these classes?
It's pretty humbling, to be honest. I mean, it's so cool to see so many people that are genuinely interested to learn te reo. So look, it's been humbling, it's been exciting, it's been encouraging, and all of that fuzzy stuff. It's been really cool, I suppose, and awesome.
So yeah, from that, so how important is it to you to keep Māori language and culture here in Otatahi?
I mean, it's super important, isn't it? The thing with te reo Māori, I mean, te reo Māori is sort of the cloak that describes a lot of Māori ways of thinking, and so it's so important that we keep that alive and keep it going. In Otatahi, we've got a rich history. Ngāi Tahu's doing a great job of sort of putting that on a pedestal, but I think in order to embrace it and to really understand the culture and the heritage that we have here in Otatahi, one needs to learn a little bit about the language just to appreciate it, I think. So it's super important.
Absolutely. And so to finish off, so is there a tip you could give to all New Zealanders or Cantabrians to help pronounce basic Māori words?
Look, I think kia ora is the number one word. Start with that. And the word ki is in a ka ki, and order, like you're ordering something in a restaurant. Kia ora, run it together. Start your emails that way. Start your phone calls that way. And that's a great start, I think. So kia ora, I think, is if don't take anything else away, take the word kia ora away and use it.
Awesome. Well, kia ora, Anton. Thank you for coming in.
Kia ora.
Thanks, Megan. Coming up, stepping out at the New Zealand Dance Awards. And para-athletes train hard but for little pay.
My name's Alistair Coburn. I'm the station producer for Classic FM. So we're in London, we've got 8 radio stations and 2 TV stations here. So I've been doing this job about 2 years. Got a phone call while I was in the middle of Europe saying you've got a job interview in London. Worked out quite well. London's the greatest city on earth, I think. There's so much to do here, it's just such a vibrant place. My first year in the UK, I think we saw about 10 different countries. 2 weeks ago we were in Wales, a week before that we were in Prague. It's really amazing. I mean, Classic FM, we've got 5.3 million listeners every week, so it's more than the entire New Zealand population. I'll be writing promos, writing trails, writing imaging, writing commercials as well. I got nominated for a Sony Radio Award for a promotional campaign which I worked on. The skills that I've got from my study, they really stand up. It taught me a lot about how the entire radio industry works, like from sales to production to on-air to writing. Once you're done, you've got the internship, you get straight into a job, and from there you're off. I mean, the world's your oyster, basically.
Welcome back. Parasport is getting more coverage in mainstream media these days, with the Paralympics pulling in a record number of viewers. But the athletes say when it comes to sponsorship, they need more support to compete at the top level. This from Connor Haley.
Wiltshire Rugby is gaining traction. Some of the big matches are now being screened on Sky. It's helping build the sport's profile. But players like Cody Everson believe para-athletes are still struggling to get the recognition they deserve.
Para-athletes, we're probably not as supporters as we should be. I think it would go a long way if we had more of the resources, if we had better gyms, you know, and I guess funding.
Able-bodied player Greg Mitchell originally took up the sport to play with his brother. He says they're not paid and sponsorship is minimal.
Most of the guys within wheelchair rugby, they pay for the privilege. It's a fully amateur sport, so even the top players in New Zealand, they still pay to a percentage of the cost of the trips to travel with the New Zealand team.
Players say combining para games with other top sporting events is a good start.
What I love watching, this year was the Commonwealth Games. It was interwoven between para sports and able-bodied sports.
They say it's about changing attitudes.
The big part of it is, for them, it's just being a part of the sport, being respected for being a sports person rather than a person with a disability. Many years ago, we went to a tournament in Australia. The slogan was, I'm not disabled, I'm just differently abled.
We don't have that funding, we don't get the limelight, but we still train just as hard, and whatever we do, we still want to be the best at it.
Their goal? To make a living out of their sport and be treated like other elite athletes. Connor Haley, MetroNews.
Every year, the country's top dancers descend on Christchurch to battle it out for the national title. And for one 19-year-old, it's her third time on the big stage. I slipped into my dancing shoes to check it out. It's the glitz and glam of Broadway. For 19-year-old Sarah Reedy, the New Zealand Dance Awards are one of the biggest events on her competition calendar.
It's really big and lots of people come to this event, so it's cool competing against everyone in New Zealand.
It's her third time at the event and organisers say she's come a long way.
She's certainly come on leaps and bounds, yeah.
And although Reedy has competed in Australia, nothing beats a home crowd.
It's really cool to perform and you see your friends in the audience and then you just go harder because you know they're there.
The New Zealand Dance Awards are held in Christchurch each year over Queen's Birthday weekend. The chance to attend a Broadway musical theatre workshop in New York is on the line. Reedy's about to go on stage. She's keen to do well.
It's exciting. I'm kind of nervous.
She's always wanted to dance in America.
It's my dream to go to New York.
Competed in 971, Sarah Reedy.
It's tough competition, but Reedy's hard on herself.
I think it was all right. I'm still shaking a little bit.
She's from the West Coast and studying in Christchurch, so being away from family's tough.
I miss them all the time, as much as they don't think I do.
I'm so proud of her. I mean, she works really, really hard for what she does.
With performances over, it's time to find out who's off to New York.
For 2018, please welcome to the front, Mr. Drew Noble.
Drew Noble takes out the top prize, but Reedy isn't too disappointed.
I'm just going to keep on working. I have another year to compete.
And who knows, the sky is well and truly the limit. Aaron Darman, MetroNews. And now to the weather. Lydia, will I have to get my umbrella out tomorrow?
Yes, Aaron, you definitely will. It's been another cold, wet, cloudy day for most of the country. Auckland saw scattered showers, but is set to clear tonight. Christchurch has been cloudy with showers in the evening. There's no let up in the cold tomorrow, Christchurch, so grab an extra layer and a rain jacket. You'll have rain for most of the day, but will ease tomorrow night. Expect a high of 7 and a low of 3. Further south is much of the same story. Timaru, you will have scattered showers with a high of 8. Ashburton can expect rain for most of the day with a high of 7. Twizel will get ready for a cold one with a high of just 4 and a low of 1. Hamner and Kaikoura and Oxford, it looks as if you won't be escaping the winter weather either. Hamner, get out your skis because you can expect snow showers with a high of 3. Oxford, your high is 5, and Kaikoura with a high of 8. It's looking like this cold and rain will be clearing up just in time for the weekend, but in the meantime, rug up, stay dry and keep warm. That's all from me. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks, Lydia. Redheads rejoice. You'll be blessed with your very own emoji starting today. The long-awaited emoji is officially available now, but you'll have to update your phone before it shows up. This brings the total number of emojis to a whopping 2,823.
And that's Metro News for tonight.
For those stories and more, head to our website, metronews.co.nz. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter.
Join us again tomorrow night for the latest in Christchurch current affairs. I'm Abby Wakefield.
And I'm Aaron Darman.
Ka kite anō.